With alcoholism, it's accepted as a disease, and the treatment to be successful is complete abstinence. For the gray drinking woman, however, this isn't clear. And I think for the time being, it's going to be a very individual, personalized journey.
Welcome to Women We Should Know with international speaker, mindset reset mentor, author, and your host, Leslie Michaels. With audacious honesty and candor, the Women We Should Know podcast presents the wisdom and life-empowering insights of women who are the embodiments of innovation and social evolution. Please join Leslie as she shares potent conversations that will inspire your personal and professional evolutions. Welcome back to Women We Should Know, the podcast where you can always count on us to bring you the voices of dynamic, fierce, courageous women who are coloring outside of the lines and who are challenging the status quo by refusing to fit in boxes that were created by someone else. Women who are making change, carving new pathways, and showing a new way to be whole and to be ourselves. And today we have just such a wonderful woman with us. Carrie Schell is a midwife, a yoga instructor, personal trainer, speaker, author, and mom of 7. Okay, she's definitely more courageous than I am. Carrie's life work has been devoted to health and wellness. As an addiction specialist, while helping others in their recovery, Carrie realized that she, like millions of other women, was a gray drinker, not an alcoholic, but her relationship with alcohol was unhealthy. On her journey to create balance in her life, she created the innovative 10-day reset program and wrote her latest book, The Gray Drinking Reset, a 4-week journey to wellness. Carrie's humor, wisdom, and passion for helping women through the intimate, life-transforming journeys is what continues to guide her work and what continues to have women seeking her out all the way down in Costa Rica. So I am thrilled, Carrie, to have you with us today. Thanks for jumping through all the hoops to connect our Wi-Fi through such distance.
Thank you. I am very happy to be here to share this time with you and appreciate the opportunity to be included with the many other fierce women who are challenging the status quo and helping women everywhere. So thank you.
You are most welcome. You're definitely our kind of woman. I have a little tradition. I always like to ask the guests at the beginning, what is something that is not on your bio? Would be willing to share with our listeners?
Very good question. Well, when I was a teenager, I was actually a professional water skier. And so I used to compete nationally and internationally and ski at the big shows all throughout Canada. So I don't know, that's probably not the juicy tidbit that you were looking for, but maybe I'll revisit that one later.
Actually, that's exactly the tidbit I was looking for. I have not ever had the opportunity to meet a woman who was a competitive water skier internationally. I think that is amazing.
Well, there you go.
There we go. So what a great way to launch. I dare say many of our listeners have never met a professional water skier. That is audacious in and of itself. What would you say, Carrie, is the most exciting thing? You've had this big journey from yoga teaching to building retreats to moving all the way down to Costa Rica to build a retreat center and a new home. What would you say is the most exciting professional, either achievement or adventure?
That's really interesting. I've been so fortunate throughout my career to do many transitions. As you mentioned, I actually began my career as a midwife. So I never want to forget or negate the joy of being a midwife and helping bring a new life into the world. I'm not sure anything in my profession will ever top that. Um, I would say the two next things would be I was instrumental in writing legislation to legalize midwives in Canada. So for me, that was a huge accomplishment to bring what I think until, probably the 1980s or 1990s, many people had misconceptions about what a modern day midwife was. Perhaps
Mhm.
they thought, they had images of someone with a horse drawn wagon and no education. Um,
Right.
so I was very thrilled and honored to be part of that process. And I would say today, what guides me is helping women create a healthy balance in their life through um, a mind, body, spirit approach to wellness, and especially women who are are drinking too much. I think that's my
Mhm.
big passion right now. When I came to that realization
Mhm.
that my relationship with alcohol wasn't healthy. That although I think a lot of women who are great drinkers,
Mhm.
we are, I think we're probably a lot of type A personalities. We hold a
Mhm.
lot together, we're juggling many balls. And I think for some of us, that's part of our reward, or that's that little stick at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And we get to the point where that's really part of how we cope or how we unwind or relax or
Mhm.
process.
Mhm.
So I think it's very timely now, especially after COVID, to be visiting this.
Something had to trigger your interest in addiction,
Mhm.
ultimately led you to realize about gray drinking. What was that journey?
I'll share with you that at a young age, my parents got divorced. And, back in the late 60s, early 70s, that wasn't very common. And until that point, we had had a very close dynamic family. And I am the youngest. I have four older brothers, and the brother closest to me in age at a very young age when this happened turned to alcohol.
Mm.
And so it's been very near and dear to my heart. And we lost my brother 9 years ago to cancer. And at that stage in his life, he was an alcoholic. And so it's been a very intimate journey for me.
Mm. I am sure that there all that passion
Mm.
into what you do. And it's amazing that you are working specifically with women at this time, which makes sense since you started as a midwife. We don't
Hmm.
need pregnant men. And so, but honestly, I had never heard. In fact, it was when we initially were introduced and started speaking, I asked you, what is gray drinking?
Right.
This a new label, a new phenomena, or am I just behind the curve, which can happen from time to time? Where did this come into play?
I I don't think you're behind the curve. I think this is a new expression or a new term, and I think that we're coming into a new period for women,
Mhm.
especially after the pandemic. Stats tell us that women report a 41% increase in heavy drinking. And heavy drinking is defined as five or more drinks at one sitting. So I think for various reasons, where we at home and we had no out way to deal with the stressors of homeschooling, working from home, being with everyone, your partner and all your children, or whatever it may be, a loss of
Right.
social networking. And so many of us turn to alcohol during that time. And so, no, I don't think you're behind the curve. And gray drinking, as you said, is that area. It's that gray area. I'm not an alcoholic, but I have thought, oh, should I stop? Should I cut back? But I've struggled to do so on my own. So
Mhm.
hopefully, we're providing a way to help women.
Mhm. 41%. That's huge. Now, I know you're Canadian. Is that in Canada? Is that in North America? Is this a worldwide statistic? What does that relate to?
That is both in North America and globally. I think the uptake was felt globally in this pandemic, both with men and women, but I'm just specifically referring to women. Men
Of course,
equally took to alcohol as well.
I'm sure, but we're all about the women here, aren't we?
That's right.
5 or more drinks. So this is what we're inviting our listeners who are getting to eavesdrop on our conversation today to notice for themselves where they're sitting in this scale of 5 or more drinks. What where did the determination that it was 5 or more drinks come from?
To be honest with
Oh,
you,
I just want to look at the anatomy of
Mhm.
drinking if we can.
Definitely. I think similar to alcoholism, it's a very individual thing. And although there are clinical terms and definitions that we can attribute to alcoholism and drug addiction, I think gray area, as the term itself denotes, is gray. And it could be quite different for me than it could be for another woman. So for me personally, it was going through this transition, as you referred to, moving and COVID and different things, that I would have my to-do list. And if I accomplished my to-do list and fit a workout in, then I could uncork that bottle of wine in the evening and have a couple
Right.
drinks. Then it came to that, oh, I can quickly have 3 glasses of wine in an evening. And I started to reflect, is this too, am I in a problem here? Is this a problem zone? And it clearly was.
And when you say it clearly was it just a knowing? Or did you have a day when you couldn't do a workout, or how do you understand? And I ask that, I know every woman's going to be individual. But I ask that because I know that we have listeners now going, wait a minute, is that me? Oh, no, that's not me. Well, maybe that's me. And you're our expert. So if we can give them information,
Right.
understand where they are.
I think what is so tricky about this situation is that by and large, our society drinks often and frequently, and we drink quite a bit. And so if I were to say to my social group, who when I socialize with, we're always having a glass of wine or beer or cocktails, it always seems to find its way into social gatherings. That if I were to go to my friends and say, listen, I think I have an issue with drinking, they would look at me and they'd say, you're crazy. No, you don't. You don't drink more than we drink. But that doesn't mean
There's
that
the
there's not
catch.
that's right.
There's
Okay.
the catch.
Doesn't mean there's not an overriding problem, that we haven't changed the benchmark. And I think we really need to reassess that, where our level of drinking has gotten us to.
And as you counsel and coach women, how do you help them do that? What smaller benchmarks do you give them to track to be able to determine where the larger benchmarks might rest in a more healthy situation?
Just before I touch on that, going back to your last question, for me personally, there was never a time where I couldn't work out or I didn't get up or that sort of thing. And that is why this is so insidious, because I think for the gray drinker, you're high functioning and you just realize that in the course of an evening, I've come home, I'm getting dinner on, and I'm having a glass of wine while I'm cooking. I have another glass of wine or two with dinner. And then before I know it, I've drank a whole bottle in that evening. Now it's been over the course of 7 hours and I'm not drunk, but I've consumed quite a bit of alcohol.
Mhm.
So where I like to start with women is to encourage them to do a 10-day reset. And
Mm.
if that very notion, you're starting to think, oh my gosh, how am I even going to get through tonight not having it? You know, you
Mhm.
can, but you're really going to miss it. I think that's a good place to start.
Mhm. That's great, clear advice for our listeners. And you mentioned that you suspect uh, type A personalities tend to do this more. I am very conscious of the fact that being a type A and different experiences I've had in my life, I'm very conscious of, okay, I have to stop now for a month just to make sure. Or I have to make sure I'm doing this now a little bit more consistently for the next month, just to make sure I am keeping that health thing up. There is something in type A women that we just drive ourselves to the point that I could see reasons or excuses. We are us making excuses like, well, I needed to sleep.
Mm,
I need it just to be able to transition from work to home.
right.
And how much of that do you see coming to you as women come to you?
I see that all the time. And I think that is part of what a type A woman does. We are
Mhm.
managing many things, sometimes at
Yes,
very high levels. It
yes,
doesn't have to be. You may not be a CEO, but you may be a soccer mom who's arranging the bake sale and the charity auction, and you're having the
that's right.
perfect birthday parties, and your house looks perfect. So, no matter where you fit in that scale, I do think that we push ourselves harder,
Hmm.
have high expectations. And so the alcohol or whatever that vice may be helps take the edge off,
Right,
helps us relax. And
right.
I think there is that little reward there. There's that little job well done. So I'm going to have my treat now. That might be chocolate for some women, or it might be whatever the case may be. In
Hmm.
my case, and with millions of women, we will look to alcohol.
I like the fact, I appreciate the fact, it's more accurate word, that you language this as type A women giving themselves a treat. Type A women are notorious for having an unreachable bar that they must achieve before they offer any self-care. Everything else has to be done beforehand. So this is kind of a more accessible treat, I would think.
More accessible, very socially acceptable. And that's another issue. So, how does that type A woman, especially that corporate type A woman, which I'm
Yes,
sure you have experienced, and I know I have,
yes.
when you are working in certain industries that are male driven, and you could be at a conference, you could be wherever it may take you, that business lunch, and there's
Mhm,
alcohol.
mhm.
And so there's that pressure too when you're working in
There is.
industry in those fields. So I agree. I think we have a lot of pressure coming at us from a lot of different directions. And it's
Mhm.
hard to be that outlier. It's hard to be that one to say, I think I may have like I might be a gray drinker. I heard this term gray drinker, and it's got me
Right,
thinking. When we do that, when we pull back, what it does is it turns the mirror onto our social group,
right.
and then they inevitably go inward, whether they want to or not. And a lot of times they don't want to, and they don't want to change their behavior. So
Mhm.
you'll receive
Ostracized.
you'll either receive pushback, or you'll
Mhm.
receive encouragement that you're totally fine and you don't need to do it.
Right, 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 exactly right. Is there a space in your program where a woman could go to that happy hour table and just say, I'm just not feeling it tonight. I'll have snacks. I'm going to have a cup of coffee instead. Or is it part of the transitional healing process to be able to say, I think I'm in that gray area?
I think both options could be real options. Another thing, because this whole area is so new, there
Mhm,
isn't longitudinal clinical data.
mhm,
With alcoholism, we have it is a disease, it's accepted as a disease, and the treatment to be successful is
mhm,
complete abstinence.
mhm.
For the gray drinking woman, however, this isn't clear. And I think for the time being, it's going to be a very individual, personalized journey. And
Mhm,
so for some women, through some cognitive behavioral work and through
mhm.
some real deep introspection, they may come to that awareness. I'm not
Right.
feeling it. I'm not going to drink. Some women may be able to acknowledge and recognize their behavior and say, I recognize that I want to drink, but I will limit it. So we're not clear, and this
Right.
program isn't to tell women you can never drink again.
Mhm,
But what it is going to do is ask them to be very mindful and honest with their behaviors, with their
mhm.
cravings, and those drivers to what leads them to want to drink alcohol.
Well, I truly appreciate that you wrote a book, but then I've always been a little bookish. I want a book on everything.
Yes.
First place I go when I want to know something is to find the books on it. Within the context of your book, number one, um, I want all of the listeners to know that I'm going to do for you what I always do for you, because I just love that. And I'm going to put Carrie's URL, her contact information, her book link, all of that in the program notes. So keep jogging, keep driving, be safe, have fun, and it's all going to be there readily available for you. And as far as the book, what is your vision for it? Is it strictly for the secular community? Is it something you would like to see adopted in other wellness centers? What is your big vision?
Well, I mean, ideally, my big vision would that women everywhere who are questioning, who have thought, I think the even saying to oneself, I think I should stop for 30 days should give someone pause to have a
Mhm,
true assessment of their
mhm,
relationship, what that something is.
mhm.
So I would also like to offer everyone listening, and we'll include it in the notes, the free 10-day reset. And that will give them the opportunity. The 10 days really gives you just a taste of clarity to assess at the end of those 10 days, am I a gray drinker or am I not? And if they come to the determination that they are, then I'd love to welcome them to the 4-week greater journey that they would experience through the book and through online programs. But yes, I would love to see women everywhere just have that opportunity to take time for themselves, because that
Mhm.
in itself we don't do often,
Especially A types.
especially A types.
I would really love to thank you, Carrie, for putting the free 10-day reset in your program notes. That is incredibly generous. And to all of you out there listening, even if you've never heard the term, even if it's never crossed your mind, take a look at it. What can it hurt? What can it hurt? And especially if you're an A type. I was at dinner with a good friend of mine recently who's naturopathic physician, and she's very A type. And she was speaking about that, and she said, Leslie, what it is, it's the tape. We all have a tape that runs in our mind. Sometimes we hear it. Most of the time we don't. It's so far back that we don't even hear it. And all the tape says is, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And in the moment she said that, I believe that is absolutely true. I believe I've been aware of that, but not named it for a
Mm.
long time.
And I think that's why it's really important that we learn to be mindful, that we learn to even have those quiet moments, even
Yes.
5 minutes to put on a guided meditation or to just sit and breathe, to just be
Mhm.
still and to be comfortable in the stillness and not
Mhm.
need to fill it with noise and to-do lists and other things and worries and concerns. We do
Mhm.
have so much that we're juggling today, and we rarely slow down to take the time to even assess, what am I feeling in my body? What am I thinking in my mind? How's my heart feeling? Where am I
Yes.
at emotionally? So
Right.
this is an excellent way to really get in touch with ourselves on a mind, body, spirit level. And
Mhm.
that will then start help you to assess and see where you truly are at and where you need to go and what mechanisms and things you need to work on.
Fantastic. I like that. Um, and every time I turn around, one of my women friends is going to Costa Rica for a yoga retreat, for a healing retreat, for this retreat, for that retreat. I said, I'm getting myself to Costa Rica this year. Everybody's gone but me. I feel a little more than a little left out. How is it that you moved from Canada? How'd you happen to just be with the flow and go down to Costa Rica to build your home, but also a healing retreat center?
Well, we had come here years and years ago and loved it. And in the course of raising those 7 kids, didn't get back for a while and started returning back in 2017 quite often. And we just knew something happened in between my husband's workplace and transitions he was making, things that I was working on. We just really almost felt called to come here.
Mhm.
And so we just sold our family home and we just took a leap of faith. And here we are. And it's been quite a journey.
Are you having retreats yet?
We are going to start our retreats in January of 2023. We're giving
Mhm.
people where you want to be set up and have everything perfect for our guests, but also, believe me, the passport offices, if you let your passport lapse during COVID, it will take a while. So we're
Yes.
giving everyone time to get set up. We're giving people time to go through the Gray Drinking Reset program. And
Mhm.
this will be an opportunity for women to come and just have an incredible time, women with women,
Mhm.
just healthy eating, being outdoors, doing some adventurous things, pushing our boundaries and our limits, and in a healthy environment that supports us and those great drinkers in an alcohol-free environment.
Sounds like a an amazing opportunity to reconnect with what are those levels of fun that I don't give myself anymore, that instead I'm drinking.
Right. I think a few things. I think one, it'll be a lovely opportunity for women to connect with women without pressure, without the social judgments,
So important.
without the hair, without the makeup. It's just everybody's beautiful, everyone's beautiful wherever they're at, and just to really have a heartfelt connection with one another. I think we miss that. I think COVID has stressed that we need that and long for that. So I hope to provide an opportunity to do so. And
I
also,
would come just for that. If that was all the retreat was, just a bunch of fabulous women getting together, no hair, no wig, makeup, sweatpants and t-shirts and flip-flops, and going into the jungle and going into the water. I would come just for that. And I
and
suspect many other women would as well.
that is the great thing about these retreats, that
Mhm.
you don't necessarily have to be a great drinker to come on them, but you will
Mhm.
get the benefits of what the retreat offers, that whole holistic environment.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter where you're at with yoga, we'll be doing yoga daily. We'll be eating clean, healthy meals. So you'll come back rejuvenated. You will create space for yourself in that week
Mhm.
that you can honor yourself and bring those skills back to your busy life when you get home. So I think it's a win-win all around.
I think it's fabulous. Sign me up.
You'll be in our first group.
I will. And I'll bring all my podcast stuff down and we can
Mm,
speak to all the women in my audience who need a break, just flat need a break. We'll do a podcast live from Costa Rica if you'd like.
I would love that because women need to learn how to honor ourselves. We need
Yes.
to learn how to set those boundaries and take that time for ourselves
Yep.
and and really heal and be whole again.
Yes. I won't even do my hair. I might put on mascara.
Mascara is good. Yeah.
Okay, so watch out for that, women. We're going to go live from Costa Rica in January of 23.
Yes.
Absolutely. So what is the big important thing that either I didn't ask you or we didn't get around to that you truly want to share with our
Right.
listeners today?
I think what I want to share that if you're even having that inkling that this is something that you need to pay attention to,
Mhm.
I really encourage you just even to go to the graydrinkingreset.com and just join other women there, say on our Facebook page, in our group,
Mhm.
or do the 10-day trial. The
Mhm.
other thing is, I just want to acknowledge it's a scary thing. It is scary. It's scary to
Mhm.
think that that thing that has helped you when you're
Mhm.
happy and celebrating, when you're tired and need a rest, when you're upset and just need some compassion. It's been your go-to buddy in every situation. It never lets you down. So it is scary to think that that might not be serving you in a healthy way. And
Mhm.
it's also scary to think, what does that mean for my social situations? How
Right.
do I go for lunch with the girls without drinking? How do I go to that dinner party, the wedding, don't think about that.
Mhm.
If this is something that you're thinking, oh, I'm not an alcoholic, but I have wondered if I should cut back, then please, please just take some time and just give it some thought. That's all I'm asking. And try to be good to you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I absolutely know Carrie is going to give me some kind of contact information to put on her program notes so that you can reach out and ask her that question that's in your mind that we didn't get to today, so that you can reach out and share that story and say, what do you think about this? Those personal exchanges, we will absolutely have a contact for Carrie for you to access on the program notes. This has been brilliant, Carrie. I have learned so much. So much
Oh,
great drink.
thank
I
you,
did not
Leslie.
even know it existed.
Thank you. I feel honored to be here and to be part of your wonderful Fierce Woman podcast group. So thank you. And we'll do it in Costa Rica.
We will. We will. Next time one of my girlfriends, and it won't be long, happens about it once a week, says, I'm going to Costa Rica. I'm going to say, me too. I'm going in January.
Excellent.
I get to be part of the Going to Costa Rica Club now.
Excellent.
And you notice how I'm just going to say this for the listeners, because we could talk about this off screen, but notice how I worked in there that we could do a podcast. Now that is a type A personality. I'm going to go down to Costa Rica so that I can be with fierce women and not do my hair and not do my makeup. And my brain won't not think of one little piece of work I can do while I'm down there. But that's all right, because then it'll help more people know about your retreat.
Well, and it'll help just women in general.
That's right.
It will.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Carrie. And we'll be following up here. So for all of you out there listening who are as fascinated with this topic as I was and still am, be sure and check out the program notes. Check out that free 10-day reset. Just because you look at it doesn't mean you're going to do it this week. maybe you'll put it away for later. Maybe it'll kind of nag at the back of your mind and you'll say, it's not leaving my consciousness. Maybe I'll go revisit that little pesky thing. Definitely check out Carrie's book. And I'm going to invite you to do something else, women. What do women do best? We give care. We give comfort. Who in your circle can you gently, kindly share this podcast with? Share the Reset program with. Share Carrie's book with. And definitely share the opportunity to go to Costa Rica. Share with your women friends, because that is the foundational ethos of why I'm here at this podcast, why we all do on this big team, well, everything we do is because women, it is time to come together and be present for each other. And this is just one of those ways that we can do that. So I'll stop preaching at you now, but every once in a while I have to have a little thing to say. So as you go about your day, you have a wonderful, wonderful experience with this day. And remember, you are stronger and wiser than you know.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you received inspiration for expanding your own social innovation and influence. Help us inspire others by sharing this episode and leaving your comments over at lesliemichaels.com/podcast. For more tips, insights, and support in creating a fully audacious, professional, and personal lifestyle you love, visit our Women We Should Know community on Facebook.